another episode of Personal Consultation with Semrush. Today we have a special format. We have a PPC expert as our guest. We have Mallory who works as a paid search strategist for Vision Interactive. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's actually the second time you are joining us as our webinar guest, so it's good that you are becoming a part of our Semrush webinar family. Thank you for that.
Yes, I'm glad I can. That's awesome.
Yeah. Can you please tell us a few words about yourself for those who have just joined so that people could know like, whom are they seeing today?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm Jenny Mallory. I'm a paid media specialist at Vision Interactive. Vision Interactive is a digital media agency or digital marketing agency where we do specialize in search, both on the paid and organic side. My role at the company is on the paid side, so I get to work with lots of great companies, all different sizes, on really developing media strategies. Paid media strategies across search, display, and social. So I've been doing this for about 12 years, 13 years. So I've really been able to see how it's changed, and it
Yeah.
definitely has changed and grown. And being able to keep up on things going on is really important in our space. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to learn about all the companies, and hopefully I can be helpful in giving some recommendations, even if you're established in Google Ads or if you're looking to maybe expand to Google Ads, how to get started. So I'm really excited to hear all the questions. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And also today we have another member of the Vision Interactive team joining us in the YouTube live chat. We have Kyle Martins with us. Kyle, please say hi in the chat. So Kyle also works with Jenny. He's a digital marketing strategist, and he has been working in paid search for 4 years now. He also concentrates in Google PPC, but has mainly managed and developed Amazon paid search and display platforms for Vision Interactive. So today, Jenny will be here in the webinar room with us, and Kyle will be taking questions in the YouTube chat. So for all those who are watching us live, please feel free to drop any questions that you have, any PPC related questions, and Kyle will take as many as he can. Also, today we have two wonderful people joining us, and I know that Jules has already joined us on some previous webinars, so sometimes I can see you in our YouTube chat and in the comments section. So Jules, thank you very much for joining us. Can you please tell a few words about yourself? So what do you do and where are you from?
My name is Jules Webb. I'm a freelance web designer, web developer. I've been building websites since I think my first site was in 2002, and I started professionally in 2007. I work mostly with small businesses, and I do technical SEO and organic SEO or organic search. The pay-per-click is new for me, and I'm just sort of launching into that. Most of the small businesses I work with don't have budgets for it. And so trying to find a way to get into that space with a small budget is a challenge that I would love to learn how to overcome.
Yeah, that's why we're here actually. And yeah, so Don, now it's time for you. Can you please tell us a few words about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. My name's Don Montre. I'm the executive director for a company called CSC Philadelphia, and we are actually an improv theater here in Philadelphia, one of 30 across the United States and the UK. And we produce comedy shows, and we have one show that runs on a continual basis. And a lot of our marketing has always been word of mouth. And we're just finding more and more that we need to be present and active on the web in terms of search. And sometimes we crack that top 3, and sometimes we don't. And we have some, heavy hitters in Philadelphia as well as other cities around the country. And so we're really just trying to figure out a way into this, very similar to a lot of what Jules just said. You don't have a lot of money to spend, and you're going up against companies that do have a lot of money to spend or just better at it. So kind of trying to want to figure a way to get into this and kind of some of the best ways to, put together a budget.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dawn. And okay, so we're 6 minutes into the webinar. I'll quickly remind everybody about the format, and then we'll be jumping straight to the point. So we have 2 guests today. We initially planned to have 5. So if you want to jump on the webinar and ask your questions to Jenny, please write to me to an email address that I will submit to the YouTube chat in a couple of minutes. So each guest has 10 minutes to ask their questions and get answers from Jenny. And also, Kyle is monitoring the chat. He will be taking questions there. And he will pick the best questions from the chat and also ask them here, so that Jenny could also provide her additional insight to these questions. So the webinar will be for 1 hour. It's being recorded. So if you miss anything or want to review anything, it will be still here via the same link. You won't lose it. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please ask me in the YouTube chat. I will answer. And without further ado, Don, would you like to go first with your questions?
Yes, now that I'm unmuted. So I'm not going to start with something as open-ended as how do you start, but I guess I've seen 2 approaches when it comes to Google Ads for products. Is one, people will buy keywords, buy ads against keywords, and people will also buy ads against their product, their actual brand. And which do you feel is the better approach, or a good place to start? Which approach?
Well, I would say, would you say products and brand? So are you saying brand being the name of your company?
Yes.
Is that what you're thinking? Okay. Well, I think there could be a combination of both, to be honest. I think that you can have a branded campaign that has keywords in it that deal around your company name. And I think that that is not a bad idea if you're not ranking high already organically, or if you see competitors who are bidding on your terms. So you said, you're small, but there are some big guys out there who have more money. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're going after your terms and they're showing up before your organic listing, I think it's important to have kind of that branded presence. Typically, you don't have to spend as much for those terms either. So just making sure that you're visible when people are looking for you, because you definitely want them to find you, right?
Yeah.
So.
And we actually show up pretty high when you're looking specifically for us. And that's what I've noticed, other clubs in town will do is they'll buy tons of ads specifically against their name, but it's also like variations on their name.
Sure.
So yeah, that's, in fact, I feel like I see that more than, say, just generic terms like comedy club or comedians or stuff like that, because that's probably more generic, and I don't know, maybe leads to more expensive bids. I don't know.
Yeah, it could. I do think that, if you want to increase your awareness, though, I think it's important to be in that space as well. Because if people are looking for comedy clubs, they don't know where to go in the area. You want to also be visible there. So again, see where you're ranking already organically for that. But I do think that there is a benefit to be there as well.
Mm-hmm.
What you can do is, in your groups, you just make sure that you can have different campaigns. I would definitely split out your branded campaign to your more generic campaign. And within those campaigns, like you just mentioned, people could be looking for comedians or comedy clubs. Just make sure that on both, you're keeping very tightly niched keywords together so that your ads can be super relevant to what people are searching for. And you can drive them to a landing page, again, that is really relevant to what that search query is. So for me, I would recommend, putting both types of campaigns together, even with limited budget, and just see how they perform, as long as you're set up in a very strategic, very tightly niched way so that your quality score will be good.
Mhm.
And then just optimize towards your best performing campaign. So I don't know if you have any type of KPI that you're looking for, if you're just looking for traffic for awareness, or if you have like a form, or if people can buy tickets. I think that those are all, depending on your goal, you can optimize towards that. So the best performing campaigns could show up more often, and you could manage it that way.
Gotcha. So going back to that, just talking about budget stuff. So we did this a few years ago, and we spent a lot of money because we didn't really know what we were doing, and so we didn't get much of a return on any of those ads. And then we kind of just stopped and we kind of threw our hands up in the air. So
yeah,
obviously I'm here and I'm interested in kind of entering this field again, but I'm always curious about like what is a good effective budget, because you hear so many different things. And I know it always depends on what you can spend. If you can spend more, great. But I mean, is there a point where like, if you only have X number of dollars, don't bother, versus, this is how much money you really need to get good results that you can actually do something with, that will give you data that can do everything like you just said. Like, all right, this one is actually performing better because you've got so many people responding to it. How would you guide someone coming new into this? I know there's not a magic number, but I'm sure there's something you would say to someone coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, when you said you didn't see a lot of return, what is your main goal? Do you have the ability to buy tickets?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My goal is to convert to sales.
Okay. So you can track that all the way across through your ticket sales with tracking.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, you can. So in that case, you look at what is your profit from each person who purchases a ticket from your campaigns. So you can look at the ROI that way, and I'm sure that's what you were trying to do originally. I don't know if you have like on your organic results like a conversion rate that you think would be realistic. So I always kind of like to start in the backside. So what is a realistic conversion rate from your form to someone actually filling it out? So when someone gets to your site, how often do people actually purchase tickets? So you kind of look at that first.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can kind of calculate, okay, well, in order to get this many people to purchase, I have to have this many clicks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you kind of can work yourself backwards. So when you know how many clicks you need, then you can do your keyword research. And with that keyword research, you can see, well, how much does it cost for me, or how much could it cost for me in order to get this many clicks to my website? So that might realistically kind of give you an idea. This is kind of, if I want to participate in Google Ads, here's what I think my investment will need to be. Now, is this work for my budget? And then just, start with kind of that as your goal, and then try to optimize your campaigns down to even getting a better return. So that would be my recommendation on kind of how to think through it.
Mm-hmm.
In order to see if it makes sense to have a campaign running or not.
That's great. That's really smart. That's really good advice. I like that. Yeah, it's always tricky because a lot of times you read about this stuff and it's always about e-commerce, right? People are always trying to sell an item that you can just click a button and buy, versus
Sure.
a service where you actually have to get up out of your chair and then go and see the thing that you purchased. And so trying to understand how people respond to ads and stuff like that when they're buying a product versus they are getting a service is a little tricky sometimes.
It is tricky, and that's why a lot of times when we work with companies, I mean, we work with both sides, right? So if someone is more service-based, you have to think, well, how much is it worth for me to have this person fill out my form? Like, what is the long-term benefit? Like, if they fill out my form and then they become a customer, for my service, what is that potential conversion value, right? So it's a little different. So a product costs, let's say, $10. But if someone becomes a customer for my service, I would get this as a long-term investment, as a long-term purchase.
Right.
So you just kind of have to try to associate some sort of value to a lead versus knowing that you're getting this amount in your pocket every time someone converts. So just takes time to actually think through that. And that's why, it's important to know your business. It's important to know the value of a customer if you're not product specific based.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And we do. That's kind of all the questions I have. I mean, like I said, we're just kind of starting out. So I'm happy to cede my time, or if anyone has if you have questions for me, Jenny, I can certainly answer any questions there too.
Sure. And I would just say for you, just do a lot of upfront research and put together a really sound search architecture, because I know a lot of times smaller companies, I mean, everybody does this, like they'll put in some keywords and here's a few ads, let's just see what happens, right? And that mentality is kind of becoming archaic because Google now has such a focus on quality. So you have to hit a quality threshold before they'll even show your ad, right? Before even the ad rank will be high enough to show you. And if you can have a really solid, relevant strategy, you won't have to bid as high per keyword, so it will be less expensive. So you'll get more clicks, and really, that's where you need to start, that and the landing page. So those would be my two things, just to make sure you have a really solid architecture, it's relevant, and you have really good landing pages that are optimized for speed, that are optimized for easy purchase or easy usability for customers. All of that is very important before you begin.
Right, and you would build a landing page specifically to respond to that ad or those ads versus a standard page on your website.
Yeah, it depends. So if you already have pages on your website that are very conversion focused, they're optimized, I mean, I think that you could start there. But keep in mind, it's important that it is really relevant to what people are searching for. That's super important.
Right.
And it's really important that people can convert quickly from that page. So I wouldn't necessarily run it to just a home page on a website, which I see a lot of times people do. So then they're looking for like, oh, how do I purchase a ticket? Or how do I get to the service that I've been looking for?
Gotcha.
You just want to make sure that it could be quicker to create a new landing page just for the campaigns, which I think is fine too. But if you already have something that works on your site, you could definitely start there.
Gotcha. I just have one more question based on something you just said. You mentioned search architecture. Can you just expand on that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So it might be a term not widely used. I kind of coined it myself because I think everything needs to have a very structured document put together where you have your keywords all listed out. You have your ad copy that is super relevant to that group of keywords. You have the landing page. You have any of your ad extensions that you plan on running, all in a document so that you can see this. If I was searching for this product, this keyword makes sense. This ad copy would resonate with me, and this landing page will get me to where I need to be. Does that make sense? So just kind of making sure you have a good solid structure is super important. So I like to put together kind of an architecture document so that we make sure that everything is really relevant, because it's so important to have quality, I would say, over just trying to have a lot, of traffic.
Yeah, I agree. Great. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for joining.
Sure.
Thank you, Don. And
yes.
Jenny, before we go to Jules, I've got a quick question from Jeremy Liebenholz. He's asking, what is your position on using your own brand as a negative keyword? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say if it is okay, so if you have a branded campaign running, obviously you would want to have that keyword in there. Now, if you have, let's, for example, use a product. So let's say I am a company who sells handbags and purses. If I have a non-branded campaign and I am running a purse campaign, right? A purse ad group, and someone's looking for a certain type of wallet or purse. I would put a negative keyword in of my brand, maybe, so that anyone searching for brand will go to my branded campaign, and anyone searching for just looking for a purse or a wallet can go to this campaign that is non-branded, so that you can really understand how much am I paying for this term that is non-branded, and how is this converting versus somebody who's just branded, coming in from a branded wallet term. Because you can see that there's overlap. If you look at the query reports, you can see sometimes there's overlap if you don't specifically negatively put in your brand. So I would say I'm for it if that is part of the goal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you very much, Jenny and Jules. Now it's your time to shine.
Okay, well, I'm with Don as far as, a lot of the webinars and the research you do is all product based, and when it's service based, it's harder to get information to relate to what you're doing, So the one company that has given me a very small budget to work with and start out is an acupuncture clinic in Washington, D.C. And they got really good organic search visibility. So I decided that a SCAG strategy would be good. And I started basically, I want to do something with search intent or purchase intent. And so acupuncture 4 and add the symptom here seemed to be, I don't know, the most appropriate way. And I kind of wanted to know what you thought about that and doing that. The search volume is really low, because when you're talking about service based, you're only talking about a certain area. Even though organically they may have like 6 articles that will rank, worldwide, those aren't actually going to bring them money in, for their appointments. That's just giving them a brand awareness, and it's, with organic search and stuff like that. So, and then the other thing is how do I preview those ads? I'm not in that area, and I don't want me looking at it to affect the impressions. And anyways, okay. I'm trying to stumble along and figure out what's a good strategy. Oh, and the other thing was let me look real quick at my notes, was how to do the bid strategy. I tried a couple different ways. I thought it seemed like manual cost per click was the good way to do it, but I wasn't having too much success. So I went to maximize, and it got expensive.
Right. Yep, it can. Yeah. Okay, so let me start with your first point about SCAGs. So putting together single keyword ad groups. My thought there is, as long as you stay very relevant and tightly niched with your keywords, and very, let's do an example. So let's do acupuncture for migraines. So you have a symptom, right, for acupuncture. You could have a handful of keywords that are in that theme. So people who have migraines who are looking for acupuncture, you could put that term in different ways of searching. So you could have exact match, you could have phrase match, you could have the words in a little bit of a different order, to make sure that you're not limiting yourself on having just one term in an ad group. And maybe that's why the volume is low, because people aren't exactly searching the way that you have the keywords set up. I would recommend, having maybe a handful of keywords, and then optimizing towards that performance. So you could see like maybe 2 or 3 of the keywords performing best, go ahead and pause the others that don't have good numbers, and then, keep optimizing towards the best performing keyword, if that makes sense. But I wouldn't necessarily say, if it's in the same theme, you wouldn't just have to have one keyword in the ad group, as long as the landing page still sticks within that type of symptom, let's say for the acupuncture. I would just make sure that each symptom has its own landing page to be super relevant. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do have I have a landing page for each symptom, and I did a phrase match modified match, and oh, good Lord. The pluses, the brackets, and the quotes. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, and yeah, it didn't, and of course the search volume is maybe 10 to 20 a month when you're talking about such a small area, even though it has a big population. Anyway, it was hard, but so we got just a handful of people that went through the landing page, but we didn't get anybody who actually submitted a form for an appointment, which, for a patient thing, it's that's a big, they have to have some sort of familiarity for you to even want to say, yeah, I'll go to that doctor. Is, that kind of trust that they can actually do that is hard to overcome. And we're hoping, I guess, that they've already seen their presence in organic search. But if they're going for a targeted symptom and they really want to do something about it, that's what we're kind of hoping. I mean, doesn't that
You want to be there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, my logic
definitely makes
sound? Do I sound like I'm right on the right track?
Yeah, you're definitely on the right track. So what I was thinking while you were talking is, do you have a remarketing list or remarketing audience set up in your campaigns currently?
No, I tried.
Like people who have maybe been to your website before, who might, have come through organic or direct or through a newsletter, things like that.
Yeah, I tried to set one up and somehow it got canceled or it got terminated, but I didn't understand why. And anyways, I haven't circled back around to try and figure out what it was that I did incorrectly. But
yeah, and that's definitely something to think about, because you were saying you want somebody who kind of already knows either about you or about the service. So someone who's maybe been doing the research, has found your website in a different manner, but then comes back and searches. You want to make sure that you're in top of mind for them, because they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember, I've been to that site. Let's go check it out because I'm ready to move. I'm ready to take the next step. So you just want to always be there. So you wouldn't necessarily have to only go after those people, but you could always use the observation mode where you can layer that audience on top of all of your terms. And then you can see, is that audience actually the one converting? Are they converting more often than someone who has never been to your site before? And then bid more for those people because they're more valuable, because they do convert at a higher rate. And in that case, you could maybe get a little less, maybe have another campaign out there that's separate from all the others, that is just more about acupuncture, and not as symptom focused, but people who are interested, and just kind of try to figure out how you can increase volume but not lose quality, if that makes sense.
what about display advertising? Or do you,
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
I kind of opted to not do the display because I was trying to, I figured I should narrow it just because I was learning. Do you think it's a good idea to try and do both of them at the same time?
I would say, they work well together. I would say display advertising is typically a lot less expensive. You get more volume. And especially if you're able to build a remarketing list with enough people to be able to be into the display campaign, I would say that's a great way to go. Google has so many different audiences available. I'm not familiar with what you could use. You could use some research around all the different types of audiences out there available. I know that there is a really good, keep in mind, there's a really good audience type of in-market campaigns. So people in market looking for a specific service, that could be a really good way to target if they have anything around your service offering. There's also custom intent audiences. Those audiences, you can have your own set of keywords. So all the keywords you're going after in search, you can put in your display campaign. And anyone who in the last, I think, 7 days has been actively researching those keywords, you could show a banner ad to, a display ad to. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in display, especially with all the new types of audiences available, where, you could just see, maybe you're able to get more volume this way, and those people are converting. So I would definitely test it out.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm trying to remember the second part of your question. I think it was about how to visually preview your ad. Is that right?
Yeah,
Without messing up impression levels?
yeah.
And this is a great question. I mean, I think that a lot of people don't realize that Google in its system actually has this as a tool. So it's great. Google has it already for you. If you go in your campaigns or in your system, in tools and settings, you can go under planning. And in planning, they have an ad preview button. So you can go in there and it's wonderful. You can select your location. So it can even be down to zip code level. So even if you're not in that location, you can put in your zip code, you can put in the keyword, you can put in the device. So you put in if you're want to see results in desktop, mobile, or tablet. Even if you have like an audience layered on, you could pick that audience. And then once that will show you all the results, it'll show you what it looks like. It'll show you if in this auction you're showing or not. And if it says you're not showing for this keyword, it might give you reasons as to why not. So I would absolutely check that out. I think that would be a great resource for you to be able to preview it and see if your ads are being triggered by those keywords.
Oh, that's awesome. I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Was there anything else? I may have missed one other.
I'm looking at my notes right now. Let me see. Oh, the bid strategy.
Oh, yes. Okay. So you said you had done manual CPC and then you changed it to max clicks. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, and this is my opinion, that there's no one set bid strategy that I would say is the best. So I would say, depending on what your goals are, you start with, I think those two are probably good for you because you said you don't have a lot of conversion volume right now. So those would be the two to start with. My opinion, I would run an experiment. I don't know if you've run experiments or not yet through Google Ads, but you have the opportunity to have a campaign running with two different bid models. So you can run an experiment with, let's say, 50% of your traffic running on max CPC and 50% running on max click. And then you can see the performance for the same time period, which is really neat. And you can tell, where you're getting the most efficient traffic. So which one is actually delivering more traffic. So I definitely would recommend doing that. My second thing is I remember you saying that the clicks got really expensive when you did max clicks. And that definitely can happen. One way for that not to happen is to have in the settings, you can go to advanced settings and it will show you the ability to have a ceiling on your bid. So if you don't want to spend in this, I'm just pulling this up, like $4 is the most you want to spend. You can put that in there so that is the threshold that Google can optimize to. So you don't end up being surprised by how much per click you're spending. They'll make that the top level. One reason I think that max clicks is a good strategy is because Google uses all of the data that they have that's available to them from your campaign, from competition, from all of that to try to give you as many clicks as you possibly can. But it does take time. So there's a learning time and an amount of clicks needed in order to learn. But over a time, you should start seeing your cost per clicks going down. So I would recommend running an experiment for 2 or 3 months. And if there's a clear winner early on, then I would definitely change to that. But if not, I would just keep getting more and more data accumulated to see which one really is the best bidding strategy.
Well, thank you. That was very helpful.
Good.
Thank you very much, Jules. And before we go to our next guest, Maya, good to have you here. Jenny, I'd like to ask you a quick question from YouTube sent by Kyle. So, Fad Aziz, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Sorry about that. How do you recommend optimizing non-brand campaigns on lower budgets in the vertical with high CPCs? So this
That
question
is a
also
good
here,
question. Yes, that's a good question. if competition is high and you're really have broad terms, you will probably pay, a lot per click. So you have to decide, how much am I willing to spend per click in my vertical? Since I don't know your vertical, I don't know what to expect that cost per click range to be, because they can get really high. So I would just say, what is your goal? How much are you willing to spend per click? And just see if it makes sense for your business. One definite recommendation, though, to decrease your cost per clicks is what we kind of talked about earlier in the session. Making sure that you've done everything possible to have the best quality campaign. Quality score is #1 at getting your costs down. And there are a lot of things and places in Google you can look to see how you're doing. So there are 3 different columns you can put into your report that will show your landing page relevance, your keyword, your ad copy relevance, and your expected click-through rate. So they will grade you on below average, average, or above average. And you really want to look at these because you want to see, how can I increase my quality to get my costs down? So to me, that would be my recommendation, is just to make sure, if you're going to compete in a highly competitive landscape, make sure that you have the most relevant keywords to ad copy to landing page. And that landing page is absolutely optimized for conversion and speed. And make sure you have all of your best campaign you can starting off, and then see what else you can do to improve it. But that quality is very important.
Yeah, another good answer. Thank you very much, Jenny. And I think we can go to Maya. Maya, can you briefly also introduce yourself? So what's your name and what do you do, where are you from? And then go to your questions. Oh, we can hear you. Bruce, can you say something? Can we hear
I can
you?
say something. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Maya, maybe for
I
now, can you please try to fix your microphone, and we'll get back to you as soon as it's ready. And Bruce, can you please introduce yourself and also
Yeah, hi, my name is Bruce Mishkin. I'm the president of a digital marketing firm called Adventix, based in New Jersey. And we work with performing arts organizations and produce and manage PPC campaigns for theaters, museums, concert halls, etc. So when I heard some of your discussion about the improv group, I guess that's Don. Is that you? It piqued my interest because I have a lot of experience in the area of pushing, theatrical shows or concerts or improv groups or what have you, on Google. One of the things that you're going to find is that if you have high name recognition, one of the most important keywords that you're going to use is the name of your organization. Again, because people may be searching for it. We find with many of the theaters that we deal with, very often 70% of the conversions that happen, as well as the clicks that happen on the name of the theater itself, okay, or variations of that name. So if you were known as the ABC Performing Arts Center, some people might have ABC Center or ABC Theater as their keywords. So what you want to do is put variations of your own name as keywords in an ad group. The other important thing to do is, as you set up ad groups, certain people are looking for things like, some people might look, Don, is this a comedy improv group or an acting improv group?
Yeah, it's a comedy improv group.
Right. So for instance, do you know about ad groups in Google Ads?
Not really.
Okay, ad groups are really important in that you have to set, ad groups contain similar keywords. So for instance, some people might use the keyword comedy near me, comedy clubs near me, live comedy in my area, okay? So what you would do is create an ad group around those people that are using the keyword comedy and write ads that ensure that you use the word comedy, as well as explain what you guys do, that they're not coming necessarily to a comedy club, but they're coming because they can participate, okay? For those that are looking for workshops, you can have keywords, and there are people that might have as keywords acting workshops, comedy workshops, improv workshops. So you would create a workshops ad group in your campaign, and in there put all the keywords that use the word workshop, and then write, according to Google best practices, 3 different ads for each ad group, so that Google and you can determine which ad is getting the most traction. And Google will tend to show the ad that is performing the best. I don't know, because I dropped out of the conversation for a little bit, but did you discuss conversion tracking at all? As far as measuring the results of a Google campaign?
Yeah, we touched on it, I think, a little bit. I kind of got just some basic stuff to get started.
Right. Okay. Because, conversion tracking is really important, and you can not only track through conversion tracking let's say the one event that you might be promoting, but you can use something called site links, that you can have up to six site links below your ad and promote other events. So let's say that you had a workshop on the 24th, the 1st, the 8th, and the 16th. You can have a site link for each workshop, promote that, send people to the landing page of that workshop to sign up or register. So there are lots of things that you can do with Google Ads to ensure that you get the kind of traffic that you want. And the last thing I'll add is that when you do keyword research, and the Google keyword planning tool is very good, when you do that keyword research, you may get back 3,000 to 5,000 suggested keywords, which you can download in a spreadsheet, and then you've got to go through there and eliminate all the non-relevant keywords. So for instance, if it was comedy improv, Austin, Texas, and you're in Philly, well, you don't want to show that ad to people in Austin, Texas. So you make sure that that is not included as a keyword, okay? Then you take those keywords.
Can you please cut it a little bit?
Sure.
So we're a bit limited on time. So
Okay.
I'm just, and Don has already received his answers from Jenny. So if you don't mind, I will ask Maya to try to
Sure.
ask her questions once again. So mainly, if you want, you can ask your questions also to Jenny after Maya is finished. But yeah, all the other guys have already received their expert advice from Jenny. So it's good if we just stick to the point. And Maya, would you like to?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yay! Great. Thank you guys for being patient. So, hi, I'm Maya. I'm a marketing manager from Movers Development, and we're a company that specializes in, actually in moving industry and providing moving companies with marketing solutions. So, and thank you so much for letting me join in. And Jenny, I have a few questions that I would like to consult with you on. It is when it comes to dividing keywords into separate ad groups. I tested a lot, and sometimes I get just like different results. But usually, what any, I would say, online article would suggest to use up to 15 keywords, maybe, or something. Sometimes I find it beneficial to just use one keyword per one ad group, so I could have like a complete control over bid adjustments according to age, device, and etc. So, but when it comes, sometimes it was shown that they can literally compete between themselves, because when negatives can sometimes be tricky because when they're so similar. So, what would be your opinion on that? And should I ask all of the questions now and wait for the answers later, or what should?
No, this is great.
You
No,
can
this
just
is
go
great
by
to start
one
with
by
one.
one.
Yeah, definitely. So my thoughts to this is, if you do have the single word ad groups, it takes a lot of management. like you said.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So my recommendation to you would be, and this is my opinion, I know a lot of people have different opinions, is to have a really tightly niched keyword group. So I would say a handful of keywords. And I would drive them to a very relevant landing page. So you want to make sure they all fit with what the keywords are on the landing page. So it's very highly relevant that way. And then I would start looking at those keyword search reports that you can do, the query search reports, and make sure that all of the queries that are coming in are highly relevant as well. But my recommendation would be is to use a handful of terms and optimize towards your best ones. If you have a lot of separate ad groups with very highly related terms, you will have a lot of overlap. And if you're feeling like that's happening, you can use that tool I was talking to Jules about for the preview of the ads. Put in the keyword that you're specifically looking for and see which ad group actually brings up that term. So you could see that, oh, this ad group is not the one that I want to be showing. Because sometimes that does happen. So it's kind of nice to have that extra check just in case. And using a combination of that and the query report, you could make sure they weren't overlapping. But it does take a lot more management. So depends on how much time you have.
Yeah, it does take a lot of management. Yeah. Thank you so much for your answer. And I would like to hear your opinion because I'm still trying to find to actually understand the relevance of the search impression share as metrics comparing to the quality score that my ads are getting. So as both of the metrics are still visible in within the dashboard, how would you use them by comparing them, like, simultaneously, like at the same
Okay.
time?
Yeah. So you're looking at how much impression share you get versus your quality score. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the other thing to keep in mind is your ad rank too. So ad rank is a combination of your quality score and your bid. Okay. So if you have a really, really high quality score and your search impression share is low, it could be because you're not bidding enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you need to bid a little bit more, if your quality score is high already, that's what's getting you not as much of the impression share. So I think it's important to look at all of that together, just to see, if your quality score is low and your impression share is low, that to me makes sense. Like
Okay.
you need to get your quality up, in order to get the share. People are obviously spending, they're bidding higher and they're probably spending more there, than you're able to. So I would just make sure you take into account your bids.
Okay, thank you. I understand. And well, when it comes to just an overall like account quality score, what I noticed is that because for example, I have some clients that have been doing some PPC advertising. I'm talking specifically about Google Ads only right now. Before, and I've noticed that the domain quality does play a role. For example, like if they had have had already some active campaigns on those domains that we're using right now, that my ads will just get a higher quality score before the other ones. So what is your opinion on that, and did you have any experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience with running these campaigns and historical campaigns, and I've talked with Google reps over and over about this, and they say that now the historical information and the historical campaigns shouldn't impact your quality score as much as it used to.
Do we trust them?
But right, exactly. That's what I was saying. With that said, you can still see trends of, the one that I noticed the most is that expected click-through rate area. A lot of times, if you have a history of having a good click-through rate, you may get a little bump in that section. So just when you're starting off, because they know that, you have had a historically high click-through rate, it might start you at a higher rank than if you don't have any, previous experience, history in the account. So, I mean, you just kind of have to go with, the testing that you've done and the cues that you've seen in your account to really guide your thoughts on that, because you're not going to get, you know, someone to say one way or the other if how much that impacts. You just kind of have to use what you have in front of you and try to make sense of it. If that makes
Okay.
sense.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
I may repeat some of the previous questions regarding the bidding strategy, but usually when just starting off the campaigns, I use the manual CPC because I do spend a lot of time managing my campaigns. As I said, I create complex ad groups and etc. And then at some point, I just change them according to the results. But I have noticed that when using that, using an enhanced CPC can actually doesn't work for me because it only increases the cost per click. So does that sound like, does that make sense to just to start with a manual CPC and then, like, it sounds like I'm a control freak, but actually I am. So yeah, I just want to
No,
have my
yeah.
keywords divided and and just to be able to oversee everything. Does that make sense? Because Google is trying to
It does.
automatize everything.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I used to have that same exact mentality, and I still have a little bit to that, to be honest, because it takes time for Google to learn, right? So if you don't start with manual CPC, you could really see either higher cost per clicks to start until they can learn and regulate it out. You could also see your impression level not do anything. I work with a lot of campaigns that are very short-term campaigns in one of my clients, and I have to almost rely on manual CPC because I want to get quick, fast impressions out there. And that has really been the best way for me to be successful there. And then, you know, if my campaigns are longer, I do, like you said, switch to a more automated process because they have so much information, right? So they're able to optimize these campaigns down to a really, you know, efficient cost per click if you give them that opportunity long enough. But I agree with you. If you have the time to use manual, that's a great way to get started, and it's a great way to try to do it yourself. And try to optimize down to as efficient as possible. So I think you're spot on. It sounds like you're doing things a lot like I do. So that's great to hear. We're pretty like-minded there.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And when it comes to the user experience regarding the landing pages, so I usually don't ever do responsive search ads because my clients have a lot of pages because of the SEO strategy, etc. So I usually create just like designated pages that I only use as PPC landing pages. Basically, they're closed off. People can't navigate through website when they land there, and that has proven to be great for the moving industry and the other clients we have that just depend on getting conversions in terms of leads. And but I do have some troubles with some people. I believe that's maybe takes off the credibility, because if you, when you land on a page and just then can't navigate or do anything else but call the company or just leave your information. So what is your experience from using the responsive search ads and actually using the, let's say, homepage as a landing page and using the whole website?
Yeah, I mean, I typically like to have the control as well. I don't use the responsive search ads as much. Now, if you're looking at like the ad format of responsive ads, you know, that's something that I've used as long as, you know, giving full thoughts in each description and headline and letting them kind of rotate the ads through. That's something that I think can be very useful. I think because of the responsive search ads are great for companies who are kind of just starting out, and they don't have as much structure as it sounds like you have with all of your landing pages that are highly relevant and not on site, at least visible from the search engines organically. I think that, you know, I would recommend continuing with the journey that you're on. The only thing I could that you could consider is making it possible for someone to maybe click the logo on the site and get to the regular website, because that could give them that credibility you feel like you're losing. So it could give them the opportunity to, if I need more information, I want to make sure that this company's legit. I want to click to their homepage and get more information about them. I think that's fine. But I would say, the strategy of not having it visible to search engines and just having it a PPC landing page, I think is a great way to go.
No, okay, thank you. And
Mhm.
when running phone calls are actually a valuable conversion for my clients. So basically, when I'm running both search and call only ads within one account, I just try not to overlap them by doing, let's say, just say decrease the device bid for mobile phones like 100% on
Right.
search ads, and does it make sense to use exactly the same keywords with exactly the same matching, because it is basically, I do have like a limited set of keywords that is extremely relevant, and I work in the industry where clicks go up to $45-50, so it is extremely important for me to narrow down the audience. Does it make sense to
Yes, and
just
I
like do it
think
like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it does make sense. I think you do need to get, like you said, down to the level of bid modifiers. I think you need to make sure that you're staying as structured as that, to where you're only getting the mobile traffic to the call campaigns versus, your desktop campaigns going to search ads. I think that is a great way to go. I think you just need to make sure that you stay very organized and understand what your data is telling you, because I know a lot of times when you try to use the same keywords for different strategies, it could get confusing. So I think as long as you have a good reporting, you're able to understand what your data is telling you, I think that there's no harm in that.
Okay. And I have only one other question. It is because all of the areas are so different, and when I had some troubles with a few clients. So basically, it is a large area, and my clicks are my CPC is actually really high, and people are not converting. So the first thing that I do is blame the landing page, because if it's the conversion rate is not going up and the click-through rate is, but it seems like the reach is not satisfying for me. It is such a large area, and I'm quite sure that knowing the industry, quite sure that there are searches, but I'm not sure why my ads are not showing enough, because the budget is fairly okay. So what would be your opinion on that? How can I improve the reach? Is there something that can improve that?
Yeah, I think you just need to look at your reporting and all of the information that Google gives you. So, is
This
it
is a new account.
possible?
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a new account. So basically,
Okay.
the ads just started. Yeah.
Okay. Is it possible that you're not bidding competitively enough to show up? I know that there are thresholds that you have to hit in all verticals. And I have come into, an issue at times where, the client just does not want to bid enough or spend as much as needed to actually show up, or to get the reach that you're looking for. So that could be number one. Make sure that you have your as competitive bids as possible out there, because and then, like you said, monitor the search impression share. If you're getting low search impression share, then you do know that there are searches out there that you're not winning. So that's a way to know that, is it because people are not searching, or is it because you're just not visible? So if you're not visible, again, I mean, all I can say is look at your quality score, look at your ad rank, look at your bid, and try to see if you can find a good combination there to show up more often.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny, so much. That
Thank
would be that.
you.
It took too much time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much, Maya, and thank you very much, Jenny. And we still have a bit of questions coming from our attendees. So we have, Jenny, we have 2 questions from David Smith. I also submitted them here in the chat. So for a non-techie person, what landing page builder do you recommend when building custom pages for PPC campaigns? And beyond Google Analytics, what other tracking tools and platforms do you recommend, and why?
Okay, so first is building custom landing pages. That is not something I have is not one of my specialties on building landing pages. So I don't know that I could give you an answer that would be, something that you haven't already tried. I will tell you that Google has a Google Optimize tool that you could use. So you can test different landing pages against each other to see which one has best conversion rates. So I would absolutely, once you do build those pages, test your pages to make sure that you're using the one that has the best conversion rate. So that's definitely something you can think about doing. And the second part of your question, Google Analytics. Google Analytics is honestly is what I love to use. I think that, you know, the fact that Google gives you information across, you can connect your platforms to Google Ads. You can see that extra layer of detail in Google Analytics from your campaigns. I think they work really well together. So to be honest, that's the one that I use and the one that I think is easiest for optimizing specifically to one to the other. So that's the one that I would recommend. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it's a good answer. And probably the last question for today, also from David. Have you seen a minimum monthly spend threshold to earn a 3+ ROAS? Seems like across all ad campaign types, if you spend too little, you'll never see a strong return.
Yes, and honestly, all different areas have different costs per clicks to participate. So it's really hard not knowing, you know, what your value of conversion is, or what your how expensive or the cost, the price point of your products, to know how much you should spend in a 3-month period. So like I was kind of talking to Dawn about, I would you kind of work backwards. So I would start with conversion percentage. So what is your anticipated conversion rate? And then keep working backwards to see, you know, how much do I have to spend in 3 months in order to get this return that I'm looking for? So that would be my recommendation. And I know that on our website, you can look at our ROI calculators if you want to check that out on visioninteractive.com. And it can kind of help you with that process of how to walk backwards. So how much is a conversion worth to me? What is my conversion rate? Here's what I need to spend in order to try to reach that goal. So it's something you could check out that may help you with that process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much for another perfect answer, Jenny. And unfortunately, we're out of time for today. It's been a very fast hour. Time to wrap up. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Jules. Thank you, Maya, for asking all the questions. And the hugest thanks goes to Jenny and Kyle. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise today with us. It's been a pleasure, and I'm pretty sure that everybody will walk away with their heads full of, you know, new knowledge that will be implemented. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon at our next webinar. Take care.